Sometimes we meet people on the road who look completely ordinary. Ordinary work, ordinary faces, ordinary conversations. But if you take a moment to listen, to really notice them, their story might shake your heart. Today's story is about such a man. Stay with me till the very end, because the secret will only be revealed there. At the old bus station of the city, every day sat an old man. In his hand, a small bag filled with a few bus tickets, a worn-out shawl draped over his shoulder, and on his face, a half-smile. A smile that spoke of pain, yet also of deep contentment. People often laughed at him. Look at him selling tickets at this age. Even in his old age, he couldn't do better. Some gave him a few extra coins out of pity. Others just turned their eyes away and walked on. And the old man? He would simply smile, thank them politely, just like any ordinary seller would. Among the daily crowd was a young man named Fahad, a university student. One day, Fahad really noticed that smile. It wasn't the smile of a wealthy or carefree man. It was the smile of someone who had endured much pain in life, yet somehow found peace within. A question echoed in Fahad's mind. What is it about this old man that makes him smile like that? The next day, Fahad finally gathered the courage to ask, Baba Ji, you sit here selling tickets every day. Don't you ever feel tired? The old man nodded gently and replied, My son, when the work is done with pure intention, the body may tire, but the heart never does. The answer struck Fahad, short yet so heavy with meaning. He wanted to ask more, but the old man simply smiled and returned to selling tickets. Days went by, and Fahad's curiosity only grew. He often found himself sitting at the station just watching how people mocked him, how some ignored him, and how the old man bore it all with quiet dignity. One evening, when the station was almost empty, Fahad made a decision. He would follow this man to discover the secret behind him. The old man walked slowly through a narrow lane behind the station. Fahad followed, his steps light, his heart racing. The lane ended at a small broken-down building. The windows were cracked, the wooden door old and worn. A faint light flickered from inside. As Fahad stepped closer, he froze. The sight before him was nothing he had expected. Inside the room, rows of children sat cross-legged on the floor. In front of them, small books, worn-out notebooks, and broken pencils. On the wall hung a slate board, where words were being written in chalk. And there he was, the same old man. But now, not a ticket seller. He was holding the chalk, standing as a teacher. His voice was calm, his eyes glowing with light. The children listened with full attention, raising their hands, asking questions. And he answered every single one of them with patience and kindness. Fahad's heart shook. This man, whom the world only saw as a poor ticket seller, was teaching children for free. Slowly, Fahad pushed open the door and stepped inside. The children stood up politely, smiles on their faces. The old man looked at him and said gently, Come in, my son. Today we begin a new lesson in mathematics. Fahad's eyes wandered, and then they landed on the bag of tickets. Suddenly, he understood. The little money this man earned from selling tickets was what he used to buy these books, these pencils, these dreams. A small act, yet powerful enough to change lives. Unable to hold back, Fahad finally asked, Baba Ji, why do you do this? You sell tickets, you spend all your earnings on these children. What joy do you get from this? The old man fell silent. Then softly he spoke, My son, once I too had a boy, my own son. He was brilliant, eager to study. But poverty chained us. School fees, medicine, food. Life was cruel. He worked as a laborer instead of studying. Until one day, illness took him away from me. The words dropped heavy into the room. Silence filled the air. The children's eyes welled with tears. Fahad's throat tightened. The old man wiped the tears from his eyes, but still wore that gentle smile. The day I lost him, he continued, I made a promise. If my son could not study, then I would teach someone else's son. Every rupee I earn from selling tickets, I spend on these children, on their books, their notebooks, their hopes. Perhaps it is my son's charity. Perhaps it is my gift to the world. Fahad felt an immense wave of respect. With tears in his eyes, he whispered, "What's your name, Babaji?" The old man lifted his head and replied, "My name is Hamid. Once I was a professor at a college. I used to teach there. But life changed. Now, this is how I continue my teaching." Time passed. The children who once sat on the cold floor with tiny notebooks grew up. One became a doctor, another an engineer. One joined public service and became an officer. Success after success. Soon the city began to talk about them. Years later, one morning, in front of that same bus station, a large banner was hung. Professor Hamid Foundation School Inauguration. Fahad, now a grown man, stood among the crowd. He saw the same old man, simple as ever, smiling as ever, but this time with flowers in his hands and respect in people's eyes. Those very children, now grown into doctors, engineers, officers, stood beside him. Together, they unveiled the banner and embraced him. That day, Hamid stood tall and spoke, "I never desired titles or positions. My only wish was to give the education that my son was denied to other children. And today, when I see them standing here, I feel my son is smiling from above." The hall fell silent, and then came a storm of applause. Not for wealth, not for power, but for a man whose small sacrifices lit up countless lives. The lesson was clear. True respect does not come from big jobs or high titles. It comes from pure intentions, hard work, and sacrifices made for others. Professor Hamid had little wealth, but with his small earnings, he lit the lamp of knowledge for hundreds of children. And those children carried that light into the world. Even today, if you pass by that old bus station, you might still see the same old man selling tickets, smiling gently. But now, people don't look at him with pity. They look at him with honor, because they learned a timeless truth. Even the smallest act, if fueled by a great intention, can change history. And remember, you may think you have little to give, but your time, your knowledge, your heart can be the light in someone else's darkness. Sometimes, one small act can change someone's entire world.